Hello, wherever you are in the world right now. My name is Sheena Diane, and you're listening to Wham Radio. Today, we are going to do our daily dose of encouragement. Now, this is something I used to do on my original channel, which was called Sheena Diane's Audio Blog, which no longer exists. But again, back by popular demand, just like yesterday, you guys have really shown a lot of interest in those old episodes, and I don't want you to miss out. So today, we're going to do a new daily dose of encouragement. So stay tuned.
She got that daily dose of encouragement for you and me. She's always got the best stories of friendship and family. Welcome to the sweetest station in all the land, Sheena Diane.
Have you guys heard about this thing called Anchor? Well, let me tell you a little bit about it. It is the easiest way to make a podcast that I've ever seen. Anchor is an app that you can download on your phone or your laptop, and it's completely free. And it gives you the capability to record a podcast. It is amazing. And most of you already know this, but podcasts are the best ways to get your messages out there. There's a creation tool that will allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. It can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, a whole bunch of different ones. You can even make money from your podcast. And best thing, guys, there's no minimum listenership. That means you don't have to have 1,000 people listening for you to get paid. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place, right from your phone or your laptop. Can you believe it? It's so easy, guys. Go download it right now. Go to Anchor app or anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM to get started. I cannot wait to hear what you guys have to say.
What is it you want, Mary? What do you want? You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
It's almost Christmas, you guys. I feel like I should be like, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. All right, so only a couple days left until Christmas. And you guys, I'm so excited. I have 3 kids, and my 5-year-old is basically enjoying Christmas for the first time this year. It's like he's remembering things, he's noticing things, he's really more excited, and we really are enjoying it with him. And of course, I have my 13-year-old and my 10-year-old who is also stoked about Christmas. So today's daily dose of encouragement is going to be about the tradition of watching Christmas movies. Not necessarily that per se, but we all have that special Christmas movie that we have to watch every year, right? Well, one of ours is It's a Wonderful Life, and we just watched this a couple nights ago. And I decided that I would use this with my clients because it is such a great philosophy. So most of you have seen It's a Wonderful Life, but if you haven't, it's about a guy named George Bailey who is just at his wit's end. He is done with life. He's actually about to commit suicide. It's pretty big, right? He doesn't have anything else to live for. He feels like he's done. He feels like he's worth more dead than alive, right? Well, in this story, of course, the angel comes to him, Clarence, and basically erases his existence. And so he goes throughout the rest of the movie as if he didn't exist. And then what you find is he has touched so many lives throughout his lifetime. And so many things would be so different without his presence in their lives, right? And so this is the premise of the movie. And I thought, you know what, this is a really, really great coaching technique, because wouldn't it be awesome to sit down and think about how many lives that you've actually touched in your life. Now, I know this might be difficult, so you may even want to get a piece of paper, but I can go back and think of just a few when I was a child, okay? So one, for instance, and I won't be naming names because I definitely don't want anybody to be put on the spot, but when I was a child, we had a neighbor that moved in and he was new in town. Didn't really have any friends or anything. And he was older than me. He was like a teenager and I was like, 10 or 11. But we would play on my trampoline, okay? And I was a church girl. I always went to church. I still do. I'm still a little church girl. So I invited this guy to go to church with me, right? And of course he did. Well, what ended up happening is he made a lot of really great friends who ended up staying with him throughout his high school years. And coincidentally enough, one of the girls that he met at church, they ended up getting married. Now, I don't know where they are today, but this is a true story. And so I was thinking, yes, maybe that would have happened on its own time and maybe they would have met somewhere else. But if I didn't exist, would this person have met the love of his life? Would he have been married? Would he have the friends that he had? So I had a very small part. I played a role in him meeting some of his, friends and girlfriend or wife now. And so moving on, I was thinking about other relationships that I had, like my best friends, my two best friends that I've had since middle school. We had a huge impact on each other's lives. And I think our lives would have gone a lot differently had we not been there. I know there was a couple of times that we saved each other from doing very, very stupid things that could have really changed the path of our lives. So when you think back of different situations that you've been in, you can think and say, well, what impact did I have on that person's life? How would their life be different if I didn't exist? And it just really amazed me when I sat back and thought about this. So this can also be for really bad situations. I was in a very abusive relationship for about 3 years of my teenage, young adult life. It was after high school. And of course, like most relationships that are abusive, it started out perfect. It started out great. And it actually didn't get abusive until we had been dating for about a year. And I was already in love with the guy after that, right? And that's usually how it happens. But anyway, I started thinking, why did I have to go through that experience? And I would just totally ex-nay that guy out of my life if I could. But then as I was thinking about this movie, I realized how many lives that our relationship impacted. For instance, we lived together in an apartment when I was going to college, and one of my friends came over and met one of his friends, right? They ended up getting married a couple years later, and they actually are still married and have a great relationship. So that's one relationship that would not maybe exist if I didn't date this abusive guy, right? Another relationship that happened is actually one of my really good friends ended up marrying the abusive guy, which I tried to steer her against. But hey, everybody has their thing. But they're happily married and have 2 kids together now. So it's like, hey, that relationship that was really bad for me ended up touching so many lives in a positive way. So I can look back on that and say, yeah, that kind of sucked. And I hated that I had to go through that. But there was a reason for it. Right? There was a purpose for it. Something good came out of it. Not only did, people meet each other because of our relationships and I brought them together, but also I learned to be a better person and a better wife and a better mother, I think, ultimately. I learned to appreciate things. So those are just 2 examples that I can think of right off the bat, or 3 examples that I can think of right off the bat that just completely impacted someone else's life. And so I want to challenge you guys today to get a piece of paper, sit down, and take 5 or 10 minutes and really go back into your mind, back to your childhood, to your middle school years, to your teenage years, to your adult years. Think about what life would be like if you didn't exist. And I know this sounds kind of morbid, but really, I think it's a great process to do to make you realize just how big of an impact you have on this world, even when you don't realize it. If you weren't here, your children wouldn't exist today. Think about that for a second. Those beautiful faces that you look at every day, they wouldn't exist if you didn't exist, right? The relationship you have with their father or their mother, whether it be good or bad, it doesn't matter. The impact is you created something, right? You had an impact on each other's life. There's a reason why you came together, and it may not always be clear, but sometimes you're in relationships or you have relationships to impact the other person's life, meaning you are the catalyst for them for whatever it is that they need to do in life. And sometimes we just have to remember that. Sometimes it's not always about, well, how is this affecting my life? Sometimes you're affecting somebody else's life by being in this situation. Like with me dating that abusive guy, and that ended up, inviting one of my friends over who met one of his best friends. If I wouldn't have dated him, that probably would have never happened. So you can look at it like that, like, wow, sometimes you are the stepping stone or the bridge to help someone else's life, just like George Bailey did in It's a Wonderful Life. So guys, that is your daily dose of encouragement today. I do hope that you will do this process and do this exercise. Sit down, really write out the impacts that you've had in people's lives, even if it's small, even if it's just like the neighbor that I invited to church. What a small little thing, right? But it impacted his life so majorly. I mean, he had his best friends, all of his best friends. He would hang out with them all the time after he went to church. And of course, his wife. So just that little thing that I did, invited him to church, changed the path of his life or impacted his life in some way. And again, he may have met those people in a different time or a different place. So I'm not trying to say he would have never met them, but if you look at the movie and the way the movie goes and It's a Wonderful Life, this particular situation happened and it caused a domino effect of other things happening. So because, my neighbor came to church with me, it affected his life in the way that it did. So what have you done to affect other people's lives, or who have you impacted in your life? And I really want to challenge you, especially right now during this holiday season, to think about that, because a lot of times we have people who are missing loved ones, especially right now during COVID, right? Right now, some of us can't be with our loved ones, or some of our loved ones are passed on. I know I lost my mom and my dad, and my husband lost his mom. And also his dad in the last couple of years. So we understand, we are definitely feeling that loss. But if you can look at things like this, it really changes the way that you think, right? It really changes the way that you feel about who you are and why you're here. Sometimes we don't always know why we're here on earth or what our path is, what our gifts are, right? But just to know that you've impacted one person or you've changed their life in a significant way, I mean, that's a really big deal, right? So I encourage you to do that. Let me know what you think. Let me know what some of your impacts were to other people. Feel free to call into the station. If you're listening on the Anchor platform, or if you're listening on any other platform, feel free to message me. You can find me on social media at Devine, Devine, Love Coaching, Divine Love Coaching on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter is Divine Love LLC. But anywhere on social media, feel free to message me, guys, or visit the website at Devine, DEVINE-LOVE.com. If you guys want coaching or any other things like that, you know where to find me. I do meditation coaching, I do law of attraction life coaching, and I even do angel card reading. So if you guys are ever interested in getting any of that, go ahead and find me on my website, divine-love.com. Merry Christmas, you guys. I love you. And hey, it's a wonderful life.
You see, George, you really had a wonderful life. Don't you see what a mistake it would be to throw it away?
If you enjoy listening to WAHM Radio, we would love for you to become a sponsor of this show. Your contributions and donations are always welcome and help us to make more content for all of you.